is moving on in, although it's going to take a long time. For now, it's really the West Coast that gets in on this first system.
Yeah, they're going to get it. Absolutely. We're going to be talking about the entire West Coast getting in on this, the interior areas too as well. But how about the fall temps that may be heating up in the contiguous 48? Winter weather setting records in other parts of the U.S. as well. So it's been a big difference here in what we've been dealing with. You head up into Alaska, and they've been dealing with...
Well, that's California with the snow. Oh, that is Anchorage.
Okay,
good.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Piling of snow.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, it's record-breaking, actually. We had 9 inches on Wednesday and then picked up another 9 inches plus in some spots here. Daily records back-to-back. I mean, it's a lot of snow for us here.
It really is. The flip side, though, the rest of the country feeling more like spring and in some cases kind of summer-like with what is ahead for some of us. We've got this cool down. But we're going to bump up a notch in a few spots.
Yeah, the cool down is not long lasting, and it's not super cold, as you heard us talking about yesterday. There's no Arctic air to be found.
None at all out there. Well, active times coming into spots that need the activity. We're talking about some of that rainfall in the southern tier. We've been watching it move from Texas into now a bit of the mid-Atlantic down into the lower Mississippi Valley. I mean, these are areas of rain that we haven't seen a whole lot of over the last several months.
Yeah, so much excitement actually to get that rain out there in the southeast, considering how dry it has been. We'll talk more about how long this will last coming up.
Well, you know, it may be a
rainfall. It includes soil moisture and the stream flows, and that certainly has accelerated. We have coming in off and on through Saturday night, and then continuing at least for the first part of Sunday. Plus, temperatures a lot cooler than they've been. The problem with all these warm temperatures is that it's caused a lot of evaporation. It's been warm and dry over this past week. So now we've changed the atmosphere completely. We're getting a nice flow of moisture coming in from eastern Texas through Louisiana into parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and now Tennessee and Georgia, too. A lot of it up into even West Virginia, getting into some of those bigger amounts of rainfall. It's raining in Montgomery. It's raining in Birmingham. It's raining in Huntsville. Yay, for once, we are getting some rain out there. It has been a while, and it is raining in Houston. It is not raining yet in New Orleans, but we anticipate some rainfall. The front that we have across this area stalls out, so that remains a focus. The moisture feed across this area remains a focus as well, and we will see that over the next several days into next week, actually. So, you know, a lot of the biggest moisture is sitting right offshore over here in the Gulf of Mexico, but we do get some bouts of heavy rain potential. And one spot we got to watch out for is southeastern Texas around Corpus Christi and down towards Brownsville up to Victoria. You know, this area could see heavy rainfall and the potential for flash flooding. Got to watch for that through tomorrow morning. Through today, let's time out the rainfall. We see showers out there. We'll see it kind of focus more along the Gulf Coast as we get into this evening, then lifting back up again as we get into your Saturday. Again, maybe that I-20 corridor might be about as far north as it goes. We see that into your Saturday and Sunday as well. And then here, continuing to watch for, as we get into next week, the chance for rainfall along the southeastern coast, and it could be significant. Believe it or not, in Louisiana, we could be looking at the chance for flash flooding, Alex, here. It's hard to believe considering just how dry we are.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
We got a quick peek at California, where the wet season is about to kick off. Clear skies today from Mammoth Mountain here to San Francisco. What a weekend we've got shaping up for us. But it's all about to change next week. Rain, elevation snow, all headed your way. Get ready, Mammoth. We're going to be piling up on here on this base, and especially as we go through the week and we see the colder air come in. So to start, let's talk San Francisco and Bay Area and rainfall. The weekend, good. We're not even showing you that because you got some great weather. Use this weekend to maybe clean out your gutters or put new wipers on your car, because we've got rainfall coming in, and that starts on Tuesday and chances through Friday and potentially even beyond that, too. We've got a pretty complex series of systems that are lined up ready to go here across the Pacific Northwest. It all starts, you know, for now, we've got some active weather in Alaska. We showed you that snow up there. We're getting some of that all the way down into Washington as well. We actually have to extend back over into the western Pacific to see the big storm, the big low that's eventually going to travel that same route and come down and get us and affect us across the west coast. So we've got a lot lined up here ready to come on in. For now, it's some rain that we're going to see into parts of Washington, and that will accelerate as we get through the weekend, spreading down the coast into next week. Rainfall here could be heavy at times. You know, this is an atmospheric river, but it's not like a Pineapple Express. It originates back in the western Pacific here and takes a northern route here over the northern Atlantic. And so there's going to be moisture. It's not that subtropical moisture, though, that we think of when we think of a Pineapple Express stress or anything like that. So we will get some heavy rainfall, but hopefully it shouldn't be that bad. Some pockets of heavy rain potential. We'll have to watch out for problems. The kind of atmospheric river that we're looking at, though, is like a Category 1 or Category 2. And so that's usually very beneficial. It starts coming in again Tuesday with that rain spreading down through the Bay Area, Wednesday into SoCal, and throughout Thursday, Friday. Now you can kind of see how we get into some colder air and the snow levels dropping. We see that over the Sierra. For travelers, heads up for that getting into Thursday and Friday. Still more moisture in place here, right? That pattern is not really changing. We keep it going. Both models showing us rainfall across this area. Alex here. They've been back and forth on who's showing the most here. I think what's key is that we have agreement that we're going to get some rain and we're going to get mountain snow, especially through the middle to the end of next week.
Absolutely. Get it.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
it's a bit different than sitting in the stands in
For
that.
sure. We want all the stories. And I have to imagine it's super fun to,
I mean, think about when we were all kids, right? Yeah.
I mean, even watching. So if it's going to be rainy, that's one thing. But if you're dressed for it, it can be fun.
It can be fun.
Have the weather be part of the story.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Of course, it's always fun in seeing how the teams handle that, the weather conditions too.
Yes.
All right, well, all you have to do is head to X as well as Threads. Send it. This is wild. I just jinxed this, by the way, but it's all good. We want to talk about this here because Jenny had the great idea here, because this is a big matchup, right? To not necessarily just focus in on the teams
football.
and the football part of it, but the weather story with these two universities.
Yes. All right. So that's what we're going to compare here and take a look to see who actually earned the bragging rights when it comes to the weather that they've had so far this season and even going back to training.
Yes. So we're going to start off here with the first category between these two spots, and we're looking in on Athens, and they're in Oxford. Below average rainfall going back to the beginning of the fall.
They both have had below average rainfall. It's interesting to see how close they are with how far below average. It's very close.
I mean, 6.91 there. That's the deficit in Athens. Almost 7.5 there for you there in Oxford. Now, I'm not sure which would be the winner. Wouldn't you want to be the less deficit?
Well, the winner is like who's had to deal with more adversity, right? So you're more ready, more trained to take on whatever comes your way.
That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, next up, driest fall ranking. Both spots have been on the dry side out there for you, but when it comes to the driest fall on record, we've got a tie.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been really dry. The fact that we do have some rain chances coming in is so good for both areas.
Yeah, we definitely need it. How about in terms of chilly conditions? Days of 32 degrees or below, and both spots have actually seen that this season.
I had guessed, I thought that Athens would have had more days that reached 32 or colder. Let's see.
Look at that, doubled up.
This happens so often, actually. The cold air just comes down, and the Appalachians kind of give you a little bit of a break, kind of preventing that cold air from getting in to the southeast.
They do. How about days with measured rain? And we talked about how both of these spots have been very, very dry. Well, days of measurable rainfall out there, 9 and 9, another time.
It is neck and neck, Alex.
And it really, that's how the game is probably going to end up being, very neck and neck. So when it comes to the weather, when it comes to the teams on the field, looking for a good matchup here, that's what's anticipated here for us as we head towards tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, we were looking at how hot it was during training, too, in August. And so Oxford was a little bit warmer.
Let's see if we have that.
A little bit.
There we go.
A little bit warmer.
What was it? 99 versus 102. Ooh. So maybe Ole Miss is a little bit more tested weather-wise.
Weather this weekend, though. Let's take a look there and elsewhere where people, have commented on, wow, it's finally raining. What is this?
Exactly. And even though we will be dealing with this heading into the weekend, I don't think there's anyone complaining about the fact that there's some rain coming in, because it's been so very dry.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about that, because now all of a sudden we got a rainy stretch coming in for some cities, not for everyone in the South. So that's what I want to show you, how we're going to watch the weather this weekend here in terms of the rain, watch it play out into next week as well, and the pattern that's setting up. As we look ahead to what's coming our way, places like Jackson, Mississippi, again, we've been hot, we've been dry. Our temperatures were in the upper 80s this week. It had a very summer feel feel to it. Now we've changed it big time. We've dropped about nearly 30 degrees, only in the low 60s for highs. Rain in the forecast. We see that today, some continuing into tonight, and then again on Saturday night, we'll see more rain, maybe picking up on Saturday afternoon. So it's not necessarily all weekend long. There'll be some dry times out there, and it's patchy right now, and it's fairly light in most places. A little heavy rain for you off the coast of Texas, not too far from Corpus Christi. Some of that will be expanding throughout southeast Texas, so the Houston area, get ready for some rain, maybe north of town this morning. You'll see that. This front that we're seeing here ends up becoming stationary and stays with us through the weekend into next week. Showers at the moment, kind of in between all the reporting stations. It is raining in Montgomery. It's not raining in New Orleans yet, but we do have some rain coming in your direction. So as the showers continue and the front kind of stays in place, we got to focus in on maybe some mid to upper level disturbances to help touch off some bigger bouts of rainfall. And that's going to be our story getting into next week. Through the next 24 hours, we'll watch southeast Texas, where we have heavy rain right now. More coming on in. We'll see that around Corpus Christi or Victoria, Texas. Showers out there through today. By this evening, it's more confined to the Gulf Coast, southern Louisiana, perhaps. Yes, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, we get some rain chances continuing through Saturday afternoon with rain chances up here into central and southern Alabama. North Georgia, probably not here. I think it's more central Georgia that gets the chance of rain. And then we get you through Sunday, again, some rain chances, but fleeting through South Carolina and North Carolina. And then we really focus our attention on South Texas. And that's where we're going to see more rainfall getting into next week. Through midweek next week, we've got a chance of getting some significant rain across this area. Heavy rain, actually, and we'll be watching for so much so that we may even see flash flooding as a concern. Alex, hard to believe considering the drought that we have and the low Mississippi River levels and stream levels, etc., but that's how much rain we're talking about.
Yeah, it can happen.
To more species of birds than any other national park, 450 to be exact. That's more than 50% of all the birds in North America.
Wow. Now, Big Bend, also referred to as Texas's gift to the nation. It's been home to people as far back as 6500 BC. The park had about 581,000 visitors back in 2021. It became our country's 27th national park in June of 1944.
It's big. It's the size, it's bigger than Rhode Island, actually. Wow. Think about that.
Okay, yeah, that is impressive.
It's like seeing a whole state. Well, let's talk about the weather that is affected. It's famous for its views, though, and on a clear day, the National Park Service says that you can sit at the headquarters and see the mountain peaks 80 miles away.
Wow, that's impressive, although right now, not so clear, so you're not seeing much at all. The highest summit, more than 7,800 feet above sea level. There's also a weather station here, which can update you on the temperature as well as the air quality.
You know, it's also known for its dark skies. I think the darkest across the lower 48 officially.
Nice. So that's a spot to get away from the light pollution.
If you had clear skies, it would be great for sky gazing.
Yeah, not looking so great for that here over the weekend. We got some rain shower activity for the early part of the day. Gray skies continuing Saturday, and then Sunday introducing more rain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we need it. So sorry if this is your weekend to go. And this is a great time of the year to go, actually, because it does get pretty hot out here in the summertime.
Yeah, so at least temperature-wise, not too bad.
Yeah. Well, there's 7 more Fridays in the year, so frequently launches.
I know. I mean, at this point, if it wasn't for us telling folks, you just miss it almost. They're just becoming so regular.
They are routine, and it's been going well.
Yes.
It's a little after midnight, I think, tonight. If you want to see the docking, you can watch it on NASA TV.
Oh, okay.
So,
very cool.
Up. I probably won't be, but if I'm up, I'll tune in.
Let's talk about this warmth that many of us will be experiencing over the coming days. It's coming right back here, right into the middle of the country for next week. Millions and millions, once again, we'll see those highs above average.
Yeah, so temperatures, we thought it was going to get cold behind this front. Well, we knew this is the kind of air we're dealing with, but, you know, it's very short-lived, so don't stress too much about it if you don't like the cold.
Absolutely. So here's what's setting up late in the weekend. You're starting to see things warming up. A bit of a ridge building there in parts of the Four Corners Rockies region, and that just builds even more across the middle of the country as we move into the early part of next week. The one thing that's going to kind of keep the temperatures cooler in the southern tier is, well, this low that's driving by, keeping things gray and wet. But far removed from that, northbound, that's where things are going to heat up.
If we could just like pluck that low off,
exactly.
It would be really hot into the south.
Yes.
So that is going to temper your temps. But to the north, 10 to 20 degrees above average.
That's going to put us by Sunday to the mid-60s. North Platte back over towards Des Moines dealing with that. Near 70 there for a spot like Wichita. And this just continues as we move into next week, our Monday now. Got the mid-50s in Minneapolis, and we may climb even higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, good time to do all those outdoor chores before it does get cold, because you know how November can be. It could be a lot chillier than this. We're going to be in the upper 50s and low 60s, even upper 60s. Look at Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, a nearly 70-degree temperature out there for you. Wednesday rolls around, and we get to that 70 plus 71 for you in Omaha on Wednesday. A lot of 60s and 70s here, dotting the landscape here in the middle of the country. Well, oh, dear. Absolutely.
And for the players, too, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good stuff there. Thanks for that, Dan. Well, all you have to do is head to X as well as Threads. Send us your comments. We'll share a few of your game day experience stories here as we head on through the rest of the show.
Let's get you into the out there with some of the big events of the Caribbean and the West Indies.
That's pretty cool.
How it happened.
That's pretty cool.
We're watching it.
Well, we are here to help you make your way through the mid-morning hours, getting you ready for the big events in your neighborhood.
The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. This weekend, I would say enjoy your weekend on the West Coast, because that's about to change. The rainy season is beginning in a big way.
Exactly. Expect some soggy weather there, but also expecting some soggy weather along the Gulf Coast. And these are some areas that they're like, bring it. We don't care if it's the weekend. Bring the rain, because it's been just so crazy dry.
And all the heat that we've seen is going away for now. But
it's the weekend. Bring the rain, because it's been just so crazy dry.
And all the heat that we've seen is going away for now. But it's not like Arctic air is replacing it here. Well, we're going to show you how temperatures actually start warming up again next week.
The northern tier. How about into Alaska, where the snow really added up, having to plow it away?
I mean, look at this. This is a lot of snow for Anchorage, especially this early in the season. We set records, daily record on Wednesday, 9 inches. Then we did it again with another 9 inches the next day. I mean, there were spots with more than 2 feet of snow.
Whew. So where's the snow? I think we found it.
We found it.
Yes. The rest of the nation feeling more like spring or summer with what is ahead. And, of course, as we mentioned, some of the active times out there to areas that need it, seeing the rain shield spreading from the mid-Atlantic down to parts of the Gulf Coast. And there's going to be more of this year working through the weekend and into early next week.
There is a Pacific connection to this rain that we have in the southeast. It actually extends all the way back here into like the subtropical region. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of moisture coming in. A big change in the pattern.
Huge. Well, it may be a football weekend, but
chance of rain all weekend long in places like Atlanta. But it's not going to rain every moment, and you might end up with a little more drizzle than necessarily a big soaking downpour kind of rain. Chance of showers on Saturday. Again, Saturday night, that may be a rainier time. Then Sunday, at least for the first part of the day, chance of rain, then drying up into the later hours of the day. Sunday night, temps in the 40s. So just overall, a huge weather change in the south. We're not going to find the 80s like we've seen all this past week. We're not going to be seeing the overnight lows that stay mild as well, right? That's all changing too. Now, we have this front that stretches from Texas all the way up here into western North Carolina. The front itself is going to kind of wash out and just become stationary. So this is our focus for the next several days for rainfall. We see it right now with showers, Houston, Alexandria. It's raining in Louisiana, not raining yet in New Orleans, but we got some chances. Nashville, we've been in and out of some rain, and same thing for you down I-65 heading through Huntsville and Birmingham too. Showers are out there. They continue through the day today. Now, once we get into the weekend, I think we really got to focus in on what's happening along the Gulf of Mexico. And we're not talking about development, like anything tropical development, but there's a lot of extra moisture out there. So that focuses on rain here in southeast Texas to start. Next 24 hours, pretty wet here, Corpus Christi down to Brownsville up to about Victoria. And then as we go through the day, you'll see, again, showers resurging up into Louisiana. Yes, New Orleans, we get into some rain. Pensacola, Orange Beach, you've got rain coming in after such a gorgeous week here. Unfortunately, your weekend is looking to be pretty wet, or at the very least cloudy, with chances of rain moving in across North Georgia into the upstate of South Carolina and even North Carolina too. The areas to watch for the heavy rain, though, is closer to the Gulf Coast. Watching Lake Charles, Lafayette, New Orleans. Yes, we have the chance of flash flooding. Despite how dry it has been, we have getting into next week a lot of moisture moving into this area. And so, again, I mentioned that Pacific connection, actually. That's going to be a mechanism to get us into some heavy rain amounts, even in areas that are in the exceptional drought. 3 to 5 inches of rain could become an issue and cause some flooding. Alex, I had to show this connection. I mean, look at that. That's the moisture that doesn't really go away here as we get into the next 5 days or 6 days even.
Yeah, wow, look at that. It really is.
By the time we get into next week. But for now, we're going to keep an eye on the West Coast. And in Mammoth Mountain and in San Francisco, beautiful times, clear skies, you can see as we take a quick peek out there. But things are going to change as we get into next week. We've got rain. San Francisco, Bay Area, we've got elevation snow, Mammoth, get ready. This all as we get through next week. Now, we're watching here as we look ahead to the rainy season really beginning in full force in California. A lot of the activity right now, right off the coast of Washington, up in Alaska, but it's not here yet. So we have a very nice weekend, and even Monday is still good in San Francisco and the Bay Area. But we start to get into some rain as we get in through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe even beyond of next week. It's a wet pattern that sets up here for the West Coast. Here we watch some of that moisture working its way into western Washington. We'll get it first up here. And you actually see all those isobars, lines of constant pressure. That's our storm system up in the Gulf of Alaska. But it's actually another one that stretches over in the western Pacific that's all connected by the jet stream. That's actually what has to move over here and then move down the coast. So that's why it takes a few days to really get into the full force of this whole system here on the West Coast. We've got maybe a few showers making their way to Seattle, but everyone else is dry, and mentioned a beautiful weekend for a lot of us here. Good time to clean out your gutters, make sure your windshield wipers are in good working order. You'll need it as we see this atmospheric river setup getting into next week. And you notice that it's pretty persistent with kind of one pop of energy after another within it that will lead to some heavy rainfall. Now, this is an atmospheric river, but it's not a Pineapple Express. Remember, I told you it comes from the western Pacific. It goes across the northern branch of the jet stream. So this won't be the big inundation of moisture like we see so often from some of those Pineapple Expresses. This should be a pretty beneficial atmospheric river, probably category 1 or category 2. And we'll see snow levels dropping as we get into the middle to the end of the week here. Again, the Sierra getting that. Otherwise, it is rain. Models slightly different on amounts of rain, but both have that. So we have a lot of agreement on the rainy season really kicking off here across the West Coast here. And again, the snow coming in too, which is great to build that snowpack, Alex. We don't want to get dry in California like we've gotten in the South.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you mentioned, Jen, we don't want to have that happen into the West Coast.
I know.
Because we've certainly seen that happen before.
We're in a good position right now. Yes. So let's hold. Well, the gates to adventure are always open with our passport to the park.
With friends and family, having some good eats as well.
The tailgate's kind of my favorite part.
For a lot of people, right? You don't even have to like football, right? But you can enjoy the tailgate.
Yes, yes. Are you tailgating this weekend?
It's going to be an all-day affair.
Yeah, that is a lot of fun. You make a lot of new friends that way. That's why I love tailgating for music, too. Country music shows, any kind of shows. I love a tailgate.
Tailgating in general is just, one of those just fun things. All right, well, we want to hear about your experience out there, not just for that tailgate, but again, at the games as well. All you have to do is head to X as well as Threads. You can share your comments, share your pictures as well, like we just saw a few of them, and we will highlight a few more as we work our way through the show. But Jen had a great idea of not just talking about the forecast, but talking about sort of the weather situation in both of these universities and what they've dealt with here since essentially the beginning of the season.
Because I know nothing about football. So I thought, well, let's just talk about the weather. That I know something about. All right, we've got right now no rain in the forecast.
Yes. It was different yesterday.
There is a chance.
Yes.
Slight chance. Maybe like drizzle kind of.
Yeah, it might be one of those situations where kind of a misty time. You mentioned this earlier, maybe a heavy mist time.
Mist. Right. It doesn't even show up on radar. All of a sudden, you're like, what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. So just be prepared for that. But let's talk about these spots here over the course of the last couple of months and compare. And we'll start off looking at the 90-degree days that we've dealt with since September 1st. What do you think has got the winning? I
mean, my guess was Ole Miss. It's hot in Mississippi. And this year, this is just for fall, though. This is September 1st.
Yeah, so you imagine going pre-September 1st probably had a lot more.
I'm impressed that we've had 6, though, in Athens. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, hot times, but clear winter. The Rebels.
Yeah. So we're looking at who kind of gets the bragging rights for being through more adverse weather.
Yes.
Or tougher weather.
Yes.
Tougher.
Who has had to go through it? Well, how about below average rainfall? We've been talking about how dry it's been in these areas. It's been dry in Mississippi. It's been dry in Georgia. Well, below average rainfall since September 1st. Who's coming out on top? Well, there you go. Once again, It's very close.
Yes,
almost 7.5-inch deficit there in Ole Miss. Nearly a 7-inch deficit there at Georgia. There
I mean, a win's a win. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 point or 10.
This is true. All you need is to win by 1 point.
Right.
How about we talk about what's going on with the driest fall rankings? Yes, the drought has set in. A lot of areas in the South are dealing with being in the top 10 driest falls on record. Where do we stand in these two spots? Wow. Close tie here for us. This kind of really mimics what I think the game is going to be like.
You think it's going to be that close?
Yeah,
it is close. All right, well, let's look at days with measurable rainfall, because we've been talking a lot about Louisiana, Mississippi, just how that quarter has been so dry and hasn't had a lot of rain. But Georgia has been, I think, mysteriously dry, right? It's like it hasn't really rained.
Well, here we go. Measured rainfall here for us on September 1st, 9 for both cities, 9 days.
Neck and neck here.
Another tie stat. All right, how about, Laura, I'll take you to cold temperatures, because we saw some cold kind of infiltrate parts of the South last couple of weeks. So days of 32 degrees or below. You may be thinking maybe there's 0 for these two spots. Not quite.
You know, Georgia has a little elevation, too, compared to Ole Miss, but it was really just the straight shot that the air was able to travel right down from Canada to Mississippi.
And a lot of times that happens, right? Those areas get that shot of the cold, and then once it kind of works its way eastbound, it modifies a bit, and so it gets a little harder to get the colder air into North Georgia.
Yes. All right, well, let's get you into some other big games. I mean, you look at Louisiana, so we could do it with a tropical storm, but we're pretty much done with the season. Not completely, but almost.
Exactly, yeah. If we're looking for a tropical cyclone to help us out, I wouldn't bet on it.
Is that the way you want to get the rainfall?
Exactly. Yeah. But we, again, are going to get a decent soaking in these areas. We're going to get a nice surge of moisture coming in, and so this will help. It'll be beneficial, I think, for the most part. Yeah, there could be some potential flood problems, but I think the overwhelming part of the story is going to be some help. I
think so, too. So I'm going to show you how it plays out, too, because I know it's the weekend, and so there is that part of all of this. You're trying to plan for the rain and with your weekend plans. We have showers in the forecast. It does start today in Jackson, Mississippi. No more upper 80s, no more nearly 90, which is what we saw this week. So it cools down, temps in the 60s, rain comes in, chances continue into this evening, and then throughout Saturday afternoon. So not all day. Morning time should be dry. Saturday night, we see a few more showers around. You see how patchy everything is, out there. It's not one big swath of rain, so not everyone is getting wet all at the same time. And it is pretty progressive in terms of moving. It's just that there's more to replace it when it moves out. So right now in northern Georgia, we do have the rain coming down. Showers out there not too far from Chattanooga. We've got showers all across northern Mississippi, a little bit into southern Mississippi right now, but there will be more. Rain in the forecast. The front that we're watching stalls out, so that remains a focus right here getting through the weekend. And we'll just keep an eye on the subtropical jet stream that just kind of moves right over this area, bringing extra pops of energy that help use up the moisture. And we'll see, I think, some extra moisture there across especially the Gulf Coast areas, and that does lead to some heavy rainfall. There are some areas that we have to worry about flash flooding. Even though we desperately need rain, too much at once can still cause problems. The forecast through the weekend, you notice by Sunday it's more about the southeast. You see a focus in on rain, Atlanta area, south of there as well. We see South Texas, maybe some heavier rainfall. That's going to be the trend to watch into next week here, because now that moisture is surging up, moving along the Gulf Coast, getting pulled inland, and we see even Shreveport getting into some rain. Alexandria in Louisiana, rainfall coming in. And I-10, pretty wet. We could see flash flooding concerns, and that continues Monday into Tuesday right here across the Gulf Coast. Alex, in fun facts about Big Bend. The park is full of geographical contrasts. You've got plants that burst with life along the river that separates the U.S. and Mexico, while animals hunt from the grasslands to the desert. It's actually home to more species of birds than any other national park, 450 to be exact. And that's more than 50% of all the birds in North America.
It's pretty impressive, right? Well, Big Bend, also referred to as Texas's gift to the nation. It's been a home to people as far back as 6500 BC. Now, the park had about 581,000 visitors back in 2021, and it became our country's 27th national park in June of 1944.
It's big. Today, the National Park Service says that you can sit at the headquarters and see the mountain peaks 80 miles away. Wow. Not today.
Yeah, although it's improved. Earlier, we didn't know what was going on.
You can see some peaks out there.
Yeah, there's some peaks. So even on a pretty dreary, cloudy time, you're seeing some of that. But when it's clear, chef's kiss, right? Highest summit is 800 feet above sea level. There's also a weather station here, which can update you on the temperatures as well as the air quality.
Let's look at the forecast, because the other really cool thing about Big Bend is it's a dark sky location. Certified. It's probably the darkest sky across the lower 48, and so it's optimal for stargazing if the weather would cooperate.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case as we work through the weekend. It's either going to be some wet weather to deal with or just plain old cloudy skies here through Sunday.
Yeah, we need the rain.
I guess when things are quiet, you don't have a whole lot to do in terms of police work.
Train them.
Put the K-9 to work.
There's that new show, there's a book, Lessons in Chemistry. I don't know if you've read it, but there's a dog in there that's so super smart. And I don't know if it's in the show, but it's in the book. 6:30 is the name of the dog. Oh. And that just reminded me of 6:30.
There you go. All right, good stuff. Well, we go from the snows of Vermont to what we've got in really going to be the lack of snow, because it's going to be so warm out there early next week. Hundreds of millions going to be talking about above average highs.
Yes. So, while we had a front come through and temperatures have cooled down, they're returning to above average readings. And we never really got any Arctic air, and just, kind of back to average.
That's it. So here's the setup. Late in the weekend, you're starting to see things warming up a bit there. Parts of the Four Corners, Rockies region, and then building even more is our ridge right in the middle of the country.
There's one thing, though, that's going to take away from your warmth, and that's this low, this upper level low kind of limits the amount that we can rise. We'll have clouds, we'll have some rain, so we won't see the amount of warmth that you could have had if we were able to just take that and pluck it away.
Exactly. So instead, there's the area southbound. There's going to be actually in some cases slightly below average, but the warmth really is going to be here in the northern half of the country, 10 to 20 degrees above average for a lot of us.
Temperatures are going to the 50s to start. This is your Sunday forecast. Plus some 60s out there, like in Denver. I mean, we know Denver, this happens. We go up and down. We've had snow. We've been in the teens, and now we're in the 60s.
Exactly. It's so wild. 55 in Minneapolis here for your Monday. It looks like that'll climb up to the 61 mark by Tuesday. So I wouldn't say toasty, but certainly well above where you expect to be at this time of the year. Well, oh dear, comes out on top in that kind of situation, right?
Yeah. So what do you do when you've got the wet bleachers?
You just have to deal with it. What are you going to do? Wipe it off?
I brought towels and stuff before, but
then it just gets wet.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're going to be in the stands and it's going to be like that, you gotta be in it.
Yes, all in. Wear good gear. It's all about the gear, right? Well, let's get into the out there and show you some of the big could have been deadly.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. Got to watch for those deers. This time of the year where the deer seem to just want to dart out there.
We were hiking the other day, and we saw a number, not on the trail, but just off. I think this is the time of year they're foraging, getting in, they're also, it's mating season, so,
And we're in their territory, right?
Yeah.
Well, we are here with you through the mid-morning hours, getting you ready for the big events in your neighborhood.
The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. Today we are watching the rainy season as it begins in the west, and it's a wet stretch coming up here. We'll talk about that. It's coming from Alaska, which, by the way, we've gotten so much snow, the dogs have to make a tunnel to get out.
That's so wild. Dog height snow here for us. How cute is that, though? They're rummaging through, clearing the path, clearing the way, just enjoying some time in the flakes.
They look like they're having fun. This has been record snowfall. We had 9 inches Wednesday, then another 9 inches. We ended up with, in some spots, more than 2 feet of snow.
Wow, a snow emergency that was declared too.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, it's fun to kind of see that snow, but it can be problematic, certainly for those who may be trying to navigate through it there, including the dogs here.
I love this video. It's so cute.
I love it when at the end of this, the lead dog there kind of shakes it all off.
Yeah. And it looks like a nice fluffy snow, too.
Yeah.
Able to get through that pretty easily. Well, we're also watching for rain returning to the south after quite a long time without much rainfall.
I mean, really, when was the last time we could see, and even though it's kind of fizzling out in the south, just a decent steady rain coming on through? It has been months for some of us in the south.
It's all about the Pacific. So it's the Pacific bringing the snow to Alaska and eventually the rain to California, moisture coming from the Pacific storms. This stuff in the southeast links back to the Pacific.
Yeah, it really does. And you're going to show us a great satellite view of that connection that's showing up in just a bit there. Absolutely. Well, it may be a bit of a football week.
6 inches behind in most spots in the south here. Places in Louisiana running more than 20 or 25 inches behind in the rainfall gauge. So it's needed rainfall. You know it if you step outside and your grass, things are crunchy. We need rain. Atlanta we're going to get it this weekend. Chances come in Saturday night, again on the first half of Sunday at least, and then right now Sunday night looks dry. It's not necessarily going to be an every moment rain here, and some of it could be pretty light but just kind of annoying, like that heavy drizzle that comes down. At this time, though, we've got rain, steady rain coming into the Atlanta area here. That's going to change your plans maybe this afternoon. Maybe we want to pick up the kids at the bus stop so that they don't have to walk. We've got rain now here moving through southeast Texas. That low pressure is going to help squeeze a little more rain out of it. The front itself is going to be the focus for the showers like we see in Alexandria, in Louisiana, all the way to Asheville in North Carolina. Now, those showers will continue off and on through the day today. The front itself sags a little further south and then becomes stationary and becomes a focus for moisture. A lot of it off the coast here, but some of it moving just on the coast, which is where we'll see some heavy rain chances, especially next week. Now, rain chances through the weekend. Mentioned Sunday here in Georgia, South Carolina, Columbia, you've got some rain coming through. Then next week, we see all of this moisture, again, moving from the Pacific across Mexico here into the southern U.S., and that does lead to some heavy rainfall concerns. We could see too much rain. Monday and Tuesday, we've got that chance of flash flooding because of heavy rain coming into Louisiana. And then Tuesday into Wednesday, we're watching the showers focus more on southern Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, rain coming in for you, moving throughout the rest of the southeast. So all of a sudden, now we've got a lot of rain chances coming up because this is now Thursday of next week, and we're still talking about the chance for rainfall here into the south and east. Well placed, isn't it? We need it. The exceptional drought, of course, in Louisiana and into Mississippi. Those are areas that could see 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, especially the southern portions, and then here into maybe southern Louisiana or Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. 5 to 8 inches is possible. Where is all this moisture coming from? The Pacific. You can link it back here to some moisture that we have in the Pacific and see how this kind of streams in that subtropical jet all through the southeast. This pattern doesn't really change. It evolves a bit as we get into next week. But Alex, and we have a wet stretch coming up for the next 5, 6, even 7 days.
Yeah, wet stretch, no doubt. And that's going to
peak at California, where the wet season is about to kick off. Clear skies, though, for now. Today, we look for Mammoth Mountain, beautiful out there. Yes, you've got that base beginning there, but the sky is going to be clear. And the Bay Area, San Francisco, beautiful blue sky. It's all about next week. That's when we get the rain, the elevation snow, all are going to be headed our way. And this forecast for San Francisco does get pretty soggy. Enjoy your weekend, though. It's going to be like that. We'll have the blue skies out there. That lasts into Monday when the clouds start to roll in. And then on Tuesday of next week, here comes the rain as our wet season really kicks off here in California. Rain on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The moisture, again, coming from the Pacific, as it always does here in the west for us. We've got that storm system up in Alaska. Remember all that snow. But that's actually not the big deal, believe it or not. There's another big low over in the western Pacific, and these are all connected by the jet stream. So we get a series of storms that come in, but we're waiting for that big one. As it does, then finally we'll see everything kind of move down the coast and bring us all of that rainfall in the forecast here from Washington, Oregon into California. Now, for now, maybe a little rain in western Washington. We'll see some of that possible today. This is an atmospheric river setup that we'll see for next week here. And it's a couple pieces of energy or storms that kind of are embedded within it. It's a Category 1, Category 2, not the Category 5 atmospheric river that can bring a lot of problems. So it should be mainly beneficial. This isn't going to be a Pineapple Express. It's coming from the northern Pacific. So I think overall this is a really good setup for us here to get some rainfall. Some could be heavy at times, and always worried about those problem spots here when that happens. But we like to start out the wet season with some rain. That's great. We don't see a lot of that lately here in the past couple of years in California. So this really is good, I think, to get us started with rain falling in the reservoirs, snow falling in the mountains, keep building up that snowpack. We'll see that throughout the entire week, though. Remember, starts on Tuesday, Friday. We're still talking about it. European model showing us where we're seeing some of the heaviest of rain compared to the GFS, and they're similar. I mean, Northern California definitely gets the brunt of it. Snowfall, too, mainly midweek here is when we start to see the snow levels dropping, and we'll be piling up here. Beware of past level travel here by the time we get to the end of the week here. This is good news, Alex, right? To see California starting the rainy season rainy.
Yeah, it really is. Absolutely. The state is in exceptional drought, so it can happen very quickly. You mentioned California. We're doing good now, but we got to keep doing well to keep it that way.
Oh, if we go, rainy season without getting rain, right, we would be in that same circumstance. So, great that we're finally getting some rain.
Yes, indeed. Well, the gates to adventure are always open with our passport to the parks. Join us.
So was that a test or was it?
I don't know if it was meant to be a test. It ended up being one and clearly passed with flying colors.
That's a great story. All right, we'll keep them coming. You can go to X and now Threads to send us your comments or share your pictures and videos. Just use the hashtag YesTV for that.
Streak does not come to an end.
Winning.
Right. But Jenny had a great idea to talk about this, not in terms of necessarily the teams on the field, but who has been sort of weather tested, who's weather ready getting into this matchup.
Because I don't know anything about football, but I do know a lot about the weather, so why not? Let's do this. But we just need to talk about the game because you saw both spots right now are gloomy, rainy, and I think this does not give you the full picture of just how gloomy it's going to be weather-wise tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly clouds around.
Yes.
The question becomes, okay, how much rainfall could we be talking about? And it may not be necessarily a driving rain, but just that misty, showery.
Like a heavy drizzle.
Yeah, exactly. That is what you may have to look forward to there in Athens. And temperatures in the 50s, certainly much cooler than it's been this week.
Now, let's get into the weather showdown here. So basically, we're looking at Athens versus Oxford and talking about who has had tougher weather to deal with. So first up is the 90-degree days.
Yeah, you know, those hot times, particularly you start to work your way through sort of the early practices and some of those early games. Well, 90-degree days. Who comes out on top? Wow. That's a blowout.
But not surprising. I mean, we did expect Mississippi to be hotter than North Georgia, right?
15-6.
Yeah, so this is just going back to September 1st, too.
So you imagine going prior to that, August, you know, the dog days of August. How about rainfall? And we've been harping on this, for a while now, how dry it has been across the South, Mississippi and Georgia both included, right? Well, below average rainfall since the beginning of September. Take a look at this. I mean, it's close.
It's a smidge, a smidge, but yeah, there in Oxford, Mississippi, they're down about 7.5 inches.
Meanwhile, in Athens, just under 7 inches.
Yeah, I mean, it's close, but a win's win there.
All right, well, let's keep it going. Talking about driest fall rankings here on record. We saw the deficit showing up. Ole Miss coming out victorious there. How about the rankings? Well, it's number 2 driest at Ole Miss, number 2 driest in Athens.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, it's all across the Southeast. So this story is being played out here everywhere with, you know, it's been a dry season so far. Days with measured rain since September 1st, there really hasn't been many. Right,
it's been slim pickings. Well, when you compare both spots, it's a tie, 9 and 9, and there are days of measurable rainfall out there. So, I mean, close matchup when in the weather department. I think it's going to be a close matchup on the field, too.
Well, neither team has really had to spend a lot of time practicing in the rain. We just haven't had it.
So what happens if it rains during the game?
Yes. How about the cold?
Well, you would think, okay, it's still pretty early in the season. There haven't been too much cold. Remember, it did drop down a bit. We got some chilly times. So days of 32 degrees or below. Well, how about this? Mississippi had 4 of them.
I was going to guess that North Georgia won, but, you know, we see this all the time where the cold air just comes uninterrupted down through the plains and Mississippi Valley and hence reached us in Oxford, Mississippi.
A lot of times you start talking about some of these systems that come through to dump snow. You get it in Mississippi before you get it into North Georgia for that very same reason. All right, let's continue to talk about our last little stat here for us. The hottest temperature, 2023.
It's got to be Mississippi.
And it is. 102 to 99.
All right, well, we will see how the game plays out. But let's get you into your Amazon College Game Day forecast for some of the other big games happening